Hi, welcome to the Come Off Conqueror Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. And today I'm so excited to introduce to you our new guest, Erin Anderson. She is a trauma coach of 10 years. She's been helping women overcome betrayal trauma specifically and other types of trauma as well. But today that's our topic. We're going to talk about betrayal trauma and how to overcome that betrayal and how to build that trust after it and how to really overcome and build yourself back up and build your own trust. Before we jump into our topic and get to know Erin a little bit more, please go ahead and hit the like and share and comment and do all those wonderful things that help us build our channel and help us get these messages of hope and love and encouragement out to those who really need to hear it. This isn't about me. This isn't about Erin. This is about sharing love and hope with everybody who needs these types of messages. And I'm sure you're probably thinking to yourself right now, oh, I know a friend whose husband was addicted to pornography. Man, she really needs to talk about betrayal trauma and how to heal from that. Or maybe you know someone who has gone through an abusive marriage, or maybe somebody whose spouse was addicted to drugs and lied about it. Those are all forms of betrayal, and those are all forms of trauma. And it's really hard to come back from those sort of things.
Yes.
How do you learn to trust yourself again? How do you learn to trust your spouse again? How do you move on from that and heal from that type of betrayal that's so deeply rooted and connected to your soul and who you are as a person and what you believe your reality is? So please help us spread that message and help answer that question today and share that with other people that you know. So Erin, okay, you have been a coach for 10 years, which is awesome. And before you were a coach, you yourself learned how to heal from betrayal, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Many different relational betrayals. Like, this is one thing I've noticed, like when people are saying they're dealing with betrayal trauma with a spouse or with someone else, and you have to excuse this little girl. She is a mama's girl, but the chances that you're dealing with betrayal in more than just one relationship is really high. And so there's many different relationships that if you're experiencing betrayal in, there's a lot of them that need to heal. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my experience. My husband had a pornography addiction. My mom, bless her heart, she's sweet as she can be, but she was, quite toxic and negative and abusive in a lot of ways. And I grew up with that for years and years and years, and wondering if I had worth, wondering if I was lovable, wondering if I was good enough. It even got to a point a couple of times where the abuse and the trauma was so bad that I had considered taking my own life.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah, so it was it was pretty intense. It was pretty bad, and definitely hard to navigate, when I was in that space.
I don't think you're alone. So many of the women I speak to echo those same sentiments. It's like you think that you've been living in the snow globe and somebody's dropped it off the dresser and it's come shattered and your whole sense of reality is gone.
Yes.
So your sense of identity and your sense of what life was like and your purpose and your relationships you thought were one way turn out to be another way. And that really can mess with someone's mind, your emotions, mind, and your mental state. So feeling like, how do I escape this nightmare? It's easy to go to suicide.
Absolutely.
Several people say that it's led to those moments for them. So what did you do to heal from that, those types of betrayals and that type of trauma? What did you do to overcome that?
Well, it kind of came to a point in my marriage with my husband, actually. I was dealing with extensive betrayal at this point from my mom, extensive betrayal from my husband. I was considering like cutting my mother completely out of my life at this point, and I was also considering divorce. And I had 3 little boys at this point, and if you know me or you follow me, I've got 6 kids now. And I was really worried about the trauma following them. And I was left with a choice that I could leave the marriage and I could leave the relationship with my mom and just never look back. But my kids had a good relationship with their dad. My kids had a good relationship with my mom. And I realized that would be damaging to them, me, my mom, and my husband. And even though they were hurting me, I still cared about them.
Right.
But if I stayed in the relationships the way that they were, it was going to hurt me, my children, my mom, and my husband. So I call it my danged if I do, danged if I don't moment.
Yeah.
It
was like a lose-lose. There was
it was like nothing I could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of had a coming to God moment where I just yelled at him. Like, I let it all go. I mean, I really, really started screaming. Like, I swore,
No judgment here, none whatsoever.
No, it's not there. But yeah, like I did all of that, and I literally like for the next 2 hours after I came to that realization, like, why would you put me in this position, right? And I think I finally fell on the floor in a hump of exhaustion and tears.
So is it fair to say you felt betrayed by God too?
Yes, I was incredibly angry at him. Because it was like, why would you do this to me?
Right.
Right? Why? I mean, men are that they might have joy, so where's mine? Right?
Yeah. I know I signed up for trials because I need to be like you, but this is a little much.
Yes. Yeah, it was like, what's the point? And like, what? And we're supposed to have relationships that we're supposed to take into the next life, right? And I don't want these.
Right.
This is like there's no point in eternity if this is what my relationships are going to be like.
Right.
Right? Let me put her out, let her go out for a minute. Okay, I'll go outside with Sissy. And you're going to hear Frozen in the background now, but that way she can kind of come in and out. But
I hope she comes back with an Elsa costume on.
And actually, that's the other one. That's my other daughter. She's got an Elsa costume on.
Right now?
Yeah, she does. So, but, as I was laying there, I heard audibly, "Have you healed yet?" And oh my gosh, that unleashed like a whole other level of, are you kidding me? Like, how dare you ask me that? Like, how? No, of course I haven't healed. How can I heal, And just like another 2 hours of anger and like even more betrayal coming up and yelling at God and like, how dare you? And he just let me get it all out. Bless his fatherness. But at like by the end of those next 2 hours, like I just had no more fight. Like no more fight in me. And I think, God was being really wise in that moment because he was telling me, you've got to get this energy out. You've got to be able to release it. And he let me release it on him. And at that point, after I was done releasing, 4 straight hours of releasing, he was like, okay, now you're ready to. And it's that's the whole change right there, because when you're in betrayal and you're in the victim mentality, you are holding this trauma kind of close to you. And I think the reason being, and this is what was true for me, is because it was kind of like my safe. I didn't think the relationships were safe, like subconsciously. And so like the trauma was kind of a turnoff to other people. The victim mentality was a turnoff to other people. And so it kind of kept them at a distance.
Yeah, like a defense mechanism.
It was a defense mechanism, and my defense mechanism was keeping me safe in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy thing was, it wasn't. It was
right.
actually keeping
Oxymoron.
It is, yeah. It was keeping me more hyper vigilant, like to the point where I couldn't function. And once I chose to let that go. And there was a process in that, obviously. True safety actually came in. Like now, my mom can come over and be toxic, but she actually really isn't anymore. Go figure. She really isn't. She's actually become incredibly supportive of me. And, but if she comes over and she's just had a bad day or she's super judgmental of something, like it doesn't even stick. Like to me now, I just walk her through it and I'm just like, okay, tell me about that and why you think that way, why you feel the way you do, and so on.
Was there anything specific you did to let her back in, or do you still keep her at a distance? Like,
no, my relationship with my mom's been better than it ever has been.
Wow. And what happened to heal that?
I healed.
Okay. So the key is you can't heal a relationship until you've healed yourself.
Exactly. And the reason why is because if you have fractured relationships all around you, the key piece is you.
You're at
the key.
The center of it all.
You're at the center of it all. Now that doesn't mean you're at fault for everything.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
What that does mean is you've actually got a fractured relationship with yourself. Because one of the things I love to ask women at this point is, do you trust yourself? Answers 99% of the time, no. Do you trust life? No. Do you feel like you're worthy, deserving? Do you feel confident? No. Well, if those are the cases, and the list can literally go on, like all of these rooted beliefs that we have about ourselves, those rooted beliefs cause us to believe that we are not worthy of a confident life.
Why do you think that is? Do you think they blame themselves for picking the wrong spouse, or like what causes that distrust of yourself?
Well, trauma teaches us that we're not good enough. That's one of, like, I talk about this, the 10 lies that trauma teaches us, and that's one of them.
Okay.
That we're not good enough. And, we experience trauma throughout this life. And just because I've healed from past trauma doesn't mean I'm not going to be exposed to more. It's just kind of a fact of life. It happens. But what I've learned about healing from trauma in the past has taught me how to process new traumas to the point where my confidence and my self-love and my relationship with myself doesn't get fractured. It grows. It only gets better because my safety net is now my confidence. You know what I mean?
Okay, you mentioned 10 lies that trauma teaches. So you said, where can we find that?
So I'm actually creating that right now.
Maybe we could link to a video that you have or something.
Well, I'm actually going to be
link to your page anyway.
Yes, I got a lot of pages. I've got groups. I've got a podcast. I've got lots of different things. But like that's one of the things that I'm going to be creating is this idea, this video of, and lots of different things about the 10 lies that trauma teaches you. But the idea, the basic idea behind it is we need to be really conscious of our thoughts. If you're trying to heal from trauma, you can't constantly be thinking about the things that other people are doing to you, which is hard. Like, I'm not saying that's an easy thing, but if you truly want to heal from trauma, you have to be conscious about what's going on up here. Because there's things that will make you feel unworthy, and those absolutely are lies. Absolutely are lies. When you think that you're not good enough, that's a lie. If you think that you're not beautiful enough, that's a lie. If you think that the reason why your husband is looking at porn is because you've gained, in my case, 75 pounds from 6 kids, that's a lie. Those are all lies.
So in our pre-interview, you said something that really struck me. You said your husband's addiction was a symptom of something else.
Yes.
And that's a really interesting concept because I know lots of people whose husbands are addicted to porn or they're addicted to drugs or whatever it is, and that causes betrayal. What is that addiction a symptom of?
Believe it or not, this is actually something that a lot of women have a hard time understanding because we're so focused on our own trauma that we cannot fathom that the same feelings, the same beliefs that are causing our trauma and our victim mentality, they have a hard time believing that it's those same exact thoughts, beliefs, and feelings that are causing the addiction.
Realizing that your abuser, your spouse who's addicted to things, like they themselves have their own trauma that they are trying to mask, right?
Yes.
Trying to medicate or whatever it is, heal from. And they're doing it in very destructive ways, but they themselves are victims of some sort of trauma. And I agree with you. That is really hard to accept when you're being hurt. It's extremely hurtful because you're like, excuse me, I'm the one. I'm the one who's hurt here, not them. God, they're causing the hurt. And I think it's really hard to admit. So what happened when you did admit that, when you did realize that? Was that hard for you to accept?
It was. It was really hard for me to accept. So like, I get it when I'm like, this is something that we need to come to terms with when I talk with clients and stuff, because they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why would you ask me to do that? Like, he's the problem, right?
You're not hearing me. Like, you're a therapist.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. But one of the biggest aha moments of my life was when I realized that my husband was struggling with the exact same things that I was. Hence the reason why his behaviors were triggering me so deeply. And that meant I could also understand him better than I thought I could. And so at that moment, I stopped asking, why does he do this? Why? And I stopped actually taking responsibility for it too, because somewhere down deep inside of me, I really believed that I was somehow responsible for an addiction that started way before he even met me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I realized, because yes, he was triggering the things that were coming up inside of me. His behaviors were doing that. That's true. But I knew he wasn't actually responsible for the way I felt. I wanted him to be, because somehow I believed that would be easier. But when it helped me take back responsibility for my thoughts and my feelings, my actions, and my results, honestly. And once I took back control of that, that's when I started finding healing. And it helped me understand this phrase. Yeah, exactly, right? It helped me understand this phrase. And I talked about this all the time, that people cannot behave above their self-belief. They can't. So if you believe you're a victim, you're going to act like a victim. And that's going to trigger his addiction even more. But once I stopped believing I was a victim and believed that I was an empress of heaven, that was a whole different ball game, and I started acting differently, my confidence came back tenfold. And like, it's the funniest thing, like, it's never left. And I've been doing this for 10 years now. My confidence has never left. In fact, it's just grown.
I love
and
that.
My husband is 100% taking responsibility for his addiction. Does he still struggle with it? Sometimes. But it's not 10 times a day. He's not blaming me for it. He's completely honest with me about it. He's made me an equal partner in every aspect of our marriage. He doesn't shut me out. And he is now actively seeking on his own. Like, I didn't have to ask him to do this. But he's actively seeking the wisdom that he needs to heal himself. He doesn't identify with the addiction anymore. He doesn't identify as a problem. He doesn't identify as the worst human on earth. He doesn't ask me to divorce him anymore because I deserve better. He's actually stepped more into his role. My mom, who was creating a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma, she comes over now and she's like the sweetest. super supportive of me. She tells me all the time like how proud she is of me and what a good job I'm doing with 6 kids, and how her whole paradigm has changed. She used to believe that parents who had 6 kids were lazy and too laid back, and she sees me super organized, running 2 businesses.
I don't know any parent who's of that many kids, especially who's lazy. Like,
No,
you can't be lazy.
you can't be. It's not possible. But it's taught me to be super organized. And even though maybe my carpet hasn't been vacuumed in 3 weeks, like I've got my kids doing some amazing things. And she sees that everything I'm creating and how I'm always happy, my kids are always happy, and we've really got a good energy happening now in our home. And so when I talk to my clients, I say, a victim mentality is not a lighthouse mentality. It's not, it is literally a shutdown mentality. But the mom, she is the sentinel of the home. She is the one that gets to stand and shine bright. And so it's no wonder why the adversary is attacking her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What created that space for them to change, or that shift in their behavior? Was it simply that you started healing and it changed your energy? And I mean, what do you contribute to their change?
So healing, deep-seated trauma healing, means that we have to be very loyal to very loyal, because part of the reason why we're dealing with trauma is because we have been inundated and bombarded with lies, and we've accepted that as true. But truth won't ever cause a victim mentality, ever. It will cause an Empress of Heaven mentality. That's because that's the truth. That's what it is.
Right.
And so the more I was dedicated to truth, the more I was able to. Let me back up. Like, one of the things that I've created is the 7 pillars of living an unashamed life. Okay, and they are intention. So setting a really good intention, and that is like creating what it is you want, like getting in clear what it is you want. Okay. I wanted to live in truth. I wanted to have peace. I wanted to have my confidence back. Like, those were major things. And then the second one is the bounce back. And the bounce back is basically taking a look at what it is that's out of alignment with you, that's causing you not to be able to live your intention. Oh, right. Okay. And where I wanted to live in truth, I had to figure out what it was inside of my mind that was not true. And I had to call it out. And I had to be brave enough to put a stop to those thoughts. And it takes some bravery. But what happened when I started doing that, and this is leading into your question, it created space for other people to do that, because when they would come to me with some sort of untruth, I was unwilling to accept it.
Okay.
Right? And I would call it out, and I would say, so for example, my husband, I would say probably a more recent untruth he kind of came to me with, and I'm talking like recent, like as in the last 2 years, because he's kind of become very like a lover of truth as well. But he blamed me for his recent porn binge like a couple years ago, because I had gained so much weight, right? And I looked at him and I said, that's not true. I just simply said that. And what I did is I stated the truth. I said, the truth of the matter is, this isn't about me. This is about what you believe about yourself, and you can't use me as a tool for your fantasies and desires and whatever.
Not your scapegoat.
Yeah, I'm not your scapegoat, and it's hard to see me as your scapegoat when I've got this extra weight. But but even more of a truth, this body has borne you the greatest joys you have. This body hosts an empress of heaven. And this empress cooks your meals with this body. She sleeps next to you every single night with this body. She creates a home every single night for you, every single day for you with this body. And this body is also telling you right now that that's bullcrap and I'm not accepting it.
I think it's really, really healing when you can admit what is yours and what is not. Mm-hmm. We, in one of the first videos I ever did, I talked about my healing from my date rape and realizing that I need to accept the part of the story that was mine and accept responsibility for my actions and my part and not accept responsibility for what was his.
Yes.
And his actions, his decisions were not mine. And I needed to give those over to the Savior. Mm-hmm. And I also needed to accept the parts that I had to play in it and repent for anything that I may need to repent from and turn those over to the Savior. And it was so, I heard you say this in your own way, that it was extremely empowering for you to find that truth and to find out who you really were and what was yours and what was his. And it's making me kind of chuckle because we were meant to be friends. Like the things that you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like, for those of you who have watched the past episodes, you're going to hear some of the repeated messages. And she keeps talking about truth. And if you're hearing it more than once from more than one counselor and practitioner and person who's gone through this healing, you can take it to the bank. You know that what she's saying is truth. And I can feel it in my heart, in my soul, that what she's saying is true. And I know that the enemy, Satan, is the master of lies, right? And he's the master of fear. And so when she's clinging to truth and she keeps speaking truth, she's speaking life and she's speaking God into her life. And she's speaking healing into her life. And she's speaking that powerful, high frequency, the high energy, whatever you want to call it, into her life. And she's shutting down the negative. And so, of course, she's going to find healing. But I love that it's rubbing off on your husband and on your mom, and I'm sure your children. And it's creating this beautiful space for love and light and truth to live. And I think that is so beautiful. And what a great example for all of us, Erin. My goodness.
Thank you.
You are amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to add one thing here.
Sure.
And it's just like this really deep-seated piece of wisdom. And I think this was something like a really gold nugget that I got out of this whole idea of truth seeking. I had this feeling to study the atonement of Christ a lot more because I was getting really good with understanding what lies were doing and what they were creating for me. But the opposite is absolutely the atonement of Jesus Christ and what he's done for us. And wrapped up, there's so much I learned, but wrapped up in a nutshell, the thing I learned was this: when we are dealing with trauma, we are seeking justice. We want justice. We want justice. Justice is not. Justice has already been done. Christ has already bought us with his blood, right?
Amen.
Therefore, justice, his atonement is not about justice. He's already taken care of that. Justice is not ours for the taking. But our pain is for the giving. Hence the idea of forgiveness and what it is. And I think that's one of the lies too. That's one of the lies that trauma creates, is that forgiveness is just acting like it never happened again and trusting that person. It's not that at all. It's literally finding a space for all of this pain, anxiety, depression, and anger, and all these negative thoughts to go. So that way they can literally be crafted. And that's why he's the master craftsman, crafted into something completely different.
And on that note, we're all going to say, please come back, Erin. I think we could go on forever talking about this. In fact, Erin has another message for us that we're going to talk about in another video. We're going to talk about how to heal when your spouse or your abuser isn't changing and when they aren't healing, right? So she shared with us how that's created a space for them to heal. But what happens if for whatever reason they're resistant to that truth, right? And they're resistant to that healing. So stay tuned for that next episode. I'll put the link once it's out, released. And let me just say, Erin, thank you so much for sharing these nuggets of truth and wisdom and your story with us. We've been richly blessed by you today. And it was fun to see your cute little kid, and they're adorable. And again, everybody, please share, like, comment, do all those things so that we can get Erin's message of hope out. And if you want to connect with her, I'll make sure I put the links of her Facebook groups and her website and all those things down so you can continue to learn from the masterful Erin.
Oh, thank you. I try.
Thanks, you guys. Stay tuned.